Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Veteran Mountain Man and I am coming to you today on Regulatory Tuesday. And today we are going to talk about central planning here in the United States. That's right, you and I in many states are affected by central planning. And for those of you who are outside of the United States, you should listen in too, because this is going to kind of discuss some of the same things you're living under and might give you some ideas on how to combat against it. So, many states have a pretty straightforward method of state planning. They create zones and designate zones and leave it be. And you build what you want to build in those zones. And the whole reason behind these zonings was originally to help beautify their cities and their states. So warehouses were built in a warehouse district that was kind of central. Everybody knew where it was. Shippers could get to it because they all knew where it was. It made life a little easier. Now, that's been taken to the extreme in organizations such as, say the Oregon Board State of Planning, which is a group of bureaucrats who get appointed by the Oregon governor and approved by the Oregon senators, which Oregon, in case you are not aware, is a one-party state. I mean, the state finally elected a Republican, Dennis Richard, to state ethics this year. It was the first time a Republican had been elected to a state position since the 1980s. That's right. Over 30 years, people. And so, what do you think that this board has done? Well, realistically, this board doesn't actually officially control the whole state's planning system, because the actual land use and planning doctrine of Oregon states that each city or county has to manage the central planning of that city or county. However, those plans have to be submitted to the state board for approval. And so, de facto, the state board controls the central planning for the entire state of Oregon. Even though the regulations do not state that it's supposed to, because it has approval authority for the plans, it does. And this right here was basically just a way to erode private property rights in the United States, particularly in Oregon, because now you have to deal with not just your state or local city government in dealing with how the land is zoned, but if you want to attempt to change the way the land is zoned, it has to then be changed in the central planning doctrine, sent up for approval, approved, come back down, and then you can get approval to do what you want to do on that property. So you have to face multiple levels of government and multiple levels of bureaucracy. And the final approval authority, you don't even know who it is because they're appointed by the governor and approved by the state senate. And that means that you could have some guy from Portland voting on land use in La Grande. And Portland and La Grande are across the state from each other. People in Portland don't know what people in La Grande need. People in La Grande know what people in La Grande need. And so this is just another example of overregulation in a very, very touchy subject such as land use, which is realistically overregulated to begin with, but this is just an extreme example of regulation on top of regulation on top of regulation, damaging society by stopping people from being able to produce what individuals need to interact in the method of goods and services. Now, I'm not saying that all of this needs to be done away with. No, not by any means. Some of this does, however. Because another example is the HOA laws here in Oregon. That's right, HOA. For those of you who are not property owners, who don't own a house or something, you might not be familiar with the term HOA. It's Homeowners Association. And here in Oregon, any new housing development that's a group of houses being built by a developer that is more than 2 houses, has to have an HOA plan to be approved by the city or county where the houses are being built, which then has to integrate and fit into the city or county's Central Planning Commission zoning setups and Central Plan, which also had to have been approved by the Board State Planning Office and the Planning Commission. So you've got layer upon layer upon layer of bureaucracy and governing doctrine and rules just to have a house. And that means that your HOA is controlling what you're doing over your house. And your HOA was approved by another form of government to be a governing doctrine. So you are submitted to government upon government upon government. And the layers just continue. And so we need to start fighting back against this kind of stuff. This is part of what's strangling America's success. We didn't need homeowners associations in the 40s and the 30s and the 20s and the teens. We didn't need homeowners association in the 1800s when we boomed after the Civil War. The United States needs to quit regulating itself to death. We need to quit this concept of power to the people and actually return the power to the people. And returning the power to the people means that the people can't restrict what other people do. So we've got to stop the government upon government upon government. And this is just another example of it. Well, I want to thank you all again for joining me for Regulatory Tuesday. I hope this wasn't too boring for you. I want to cover property taxation next and explain how property taxes have become a club that the rich use to get the middle class to pay for the things the poor want. And I will give you some examples of that in my next research set. I do have a link below to the Oregon planning doctrine for the state, which is over 84 pages, and covers how all of the central plans and interactions are designed to work. They say they want, all sorts of citizen interaction, yet they plan meetings when citizens can't actually attend except for activists, and they make it nearly impossible and also make it so that citizens don't have to be heard even in these meetings because they can speak their voice, but it doesn't mean that impacts the outcome because the board can just overrule them anyway. Also, please don't forget, if you want to discuss this or other regulations or make a recommendation, you can come on over to patreon.com/Veteran Mountain Man and become a patron and start giving me some topical ideas. I'm more than willing to listen to you and even take some advice on some of it. You can also come on over to minds.com/Veteran Mountain Man and chat me up if you'd like. The links are down below. If you are watching on Facebook, please like and subscribe. If you are watching on VidMe, please follow and upvote. Thank you all and have yourselves a wonderful day.